workstation. So my Super VMware Workstation. If you've been following the best of VMX here, you can see I actually have several blogs on my next generation 8 Super VMware Workstation. Right, there's several blogs here on looking at different system boards and getting things set up. And today I'm going to announce which motherboard I've chosen to move ahead with this Super VMware Workstation. So I did look at the X11 system board here, this SPL-F system board. And though it's a good, rock solid system board for servers and things of that like it installed ESX fine. I didn't have any issues with it. It worked pretty well. The biggest problem, hangups I had with it is the lack of features it had. Now, it only had 2 onboard NICs. I wish it had more. It only had 1 NVMe slot. Again, I wish it had more. And though it looks like it has X16 slots in here, they were only X8, which slowed down the video when I was using it dramatically. Though it did work well and it's a rock solid board, it was come up a little bit short for using it for a Windows 11 workstation. And that's when I decided to go with the ASRock system board here. As you can see, it comes with plenty of NICs, 4 NICs in the front here, onboard video, which is nice, especially if you're doing a ESXi server, right? In this case, we're doing workstation. So really what we want is we want that X16 slot to support that great video. And that's exactly one of the features I really liked about it. It also supports dual NVMe, which is nice. And the processor is a LGA 3647. And that's really why I'm looking at these 2 system boards here, is because the processor I have is the Intel Gold 6252 processor. And it only supports PCIe 3, Gen 3, which is okay. Right, this is a workstation, 24 cores, which is great. Plenty of cores, plenty of memory. It's a server-based processor, and there's just limited options in this range. And these boards can get quite expensive. This one board here was about $430 US. Same with the X11 from Supermicro. Same price, but as you can see, the ASRock rack just had so many better options. It had, like I said, the dual NVMe's, SATA DOM, lots of SATA ports here as well. The 621 processor, or Northbridge here, right? Northbridge, Southbridge chip. All types of options here. Quad NICs, it just onboard video or audio. So many good features for a workstation board, and that's why I chose it. I went ahead and decided to put it into the ETH Pro case here. A lot of things I liked about this case. I've had this case for a while, and one of the things I like about it is the amount of drives you can put into this case. So you can see where there are so many bays here, right? 6 bays default, and for a plex server like I plan on using this for, having this amount of space for hard disk storage is great. And then combining that with the ASRock, which has the onboard RAID functionality, right, with these SATA ports here. Really good combination, lots of space. You can do quite a bit with this case. Been one of my favorites for quite a while. I then paired it up with the 64 gig Samsung RAM, a total of 256 gigs of RAM. I populated the NVMe sockets with the Sebrent, the 2 terabyte NVMe's. I'll be using those for one actually for a boot drive, and 2 actually for video processing and storage of files. Things like that. To top it off, I went ahead and went with 3 Optane SSDs, the P5800X series. And now they're PCIe Gen 4, so I won't be able to push these to their full limit. These are 800 gig drives. Now what I plan to do with Workstation is actually nest ESXi and then put a host on each one of these drives. Then what I'll do is I'll set up a vSAN cluster nested, right, and then do some performance testing with it. So it should be pretty interesting to see what kind of performance I can get out of these drive in a nested workstation of this level, right? Other workstations I've had, maybe 4, 6 cores, something like that. This one, a lot more cores, a lot of space, right? Kind of like your dream server, a lot of high performance disks. These disks absolutely fly. So I'm really eager to get it all set up and get it rolling. I'm using this particular adapter. What this adapter allows me to do is to plug the U2 drive directly into this edge connector here, and then to a 4X slot on the motherboard. So I went ahead and picked up 3 of these to support that, and the system board had no issues whatsoever seeing the drives and getting them going. Good there. The video card I'm using is the GeForce GTX 1650 Super. It's a carryover card. I've had this card for a while. It's worked very well with Plex. It's worked very well for basic video. This isn't a gaming rig. This is a workstation, VMware Workstation rig slash operating system slash Plex, and it does quite well for my needs. The hard disks I went with were the Seagate Ironwolf Pro, the 18 terabyte NAS drives. These have been pretty great. I was able to get these on a Black Friday deal and didn't pay anywhere close to that. But set these up with 5 of these drives in there, give me a total of 62 terabytes of space. One thing I noticed also is with hooking up all these drives or these edge connectors here, if you use standard SATA connectors, they tend to unlock, the power comes off, and then you got to RAID rebuild, things of that nature. These cables here are what I went with because it was easy to plug into the edge connector for the system board, and then the power was in the Molex 4-pin. Now you can also get these in a standard SATA connector if that's what you want to do. I went with the Molex connectors because back in the day I was shucking a few hard disks, and if you ever shucked a hard disk out of like a Western Digital case, sometimes they won't power it on if you put a standard SATA plug on there. However, if you convert it from SATA to Molex 4, they'd power up. So it was a little protection they had in there, and that's why I went with these cables back in the day. And they work really well. They don't fall off. They're always stay connected, and I've haven't had any issues with them since I've started using these particular cables. The 10 gig networking, I'm using this ASUS card. It's worked really well. I've done some performance testing with it on iPerf 3. It's always, lived up to the bill. I've pushed it. If you look at my blog and you see the 10 gig NAS series, you'll see where I actually use this card to do some performance testing, and it works quite well. So it's a carryover card. For a Blu-ray reader writer, I'm using the LG WH14N S40 particular Blu-ray. I chose this one back in the day because it enabled me to do some custom firmware on it, and there's also a lot of support out there. So if you're into reading and writing Blu-rays, you might check out this particular drive in the forums. And then finally, to kind of top it off, I went with the APC backups. I like this particular backups because it has a nice parachute cable that I can run between the UPS and Windows 11. It detects it. It'll shut down the system properly, which is good, and it doesn't cause that RAID group to crash, which is great because then you spend a lot of time rebuilding it if you have a hard power off. This one's pretty nice. It also has a wattage meter, and when I'm running the system kind of at idle or just doing something like I'm doing right now, it only runs about 100 watts. When I'm doing some encoding or decoding of video, when I'm processing a video, like something I'm going to post to YouTube or something along those range, it ranges about 200 watts. So I'm really excited to get this. It's all finally together, and over the next week or so, I'll be putting some more posts here around the next generation workstation, and I'll also be posting up some information on how to, how it performs with vSAN. So I hope you found this quick little live stream helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. As always, take care.